From the heartland of America, focused on God, family, and country, the mouthpiece of the Midwest. This is Dale Carter's America.
Well, greetings, friends. We are back in the podcast studio here in Raytown, Missouri. I'm Dale Carter. He is Kurt Wheeler. And we want to, right off the bat, say hi to Bob Watson, my Blue Springs State Farm agent for 5 decades. Not my State Farm agent for 5 decades. We've been together a long time, though, coming up on 31 years. He has been serving the Blue Springs area with a license for both Missouri and Kansas for 51 years.
I'd say congratulations.
7th and Main in Blue Springs, 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. If it's important enough to you to insure, you need the good neighbor on your side. And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. If you bundle your home and car insurance, you'll save even more. But the name you need to know is my guy, Bob Watson, 7th and Main in Blue Springs. All right, right at the top here, we should probably talk about what's coming together in the Middle East, and that is Hamas agreeing to be part of this peace process. Hostages are going to be exchanged. Israel is going to pull back to a yellow line, I believe it is, and there's a really good chance for peace in the Middle East, and I think that Trump gets a lot of credit for that. He's the guy who came in and inherited the situation. He went to work on it. He even said today, Kurt, that he wants the Iranians involved in some sort of peace process in the Middle East. So it's possible that after all the tumult there, that peace could break out in the Middle East. And I think we should all be for that. What else should we talk about at the top here? You want to talk about folks and how they can subscribe? And
talk about folks. Hey, folks, make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube or Rumble for the video podcast. Smash that subscribe button. Drop, as the kids say. Drop a comment, drop a like, and make sure to share the link with your friends. You can find the audio-only version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And then follow us on Facebook as well and join in the conversation.
If you don't hit every episode, maybe you don't know that I am a candidate for Jackson County Legislature. That election is not until November of next year. There's a lot of things spinning with Jackson County right now. Frank White has been recalled. You have Kay Barnes, former mayor of Kansas City. She is the interim Jackson County executive for up to 30 days while they're haggling amongst themselves and the 12 people who filled out the application. Some people who fill out the application didn't understand the process because it has to be a Democrat, because a Democrat held the seat. They hold the seat until the next election. And so 2 people were eliminated. One's a Facebook friend of mine who put independent. It's like you have to list yourself as a Democrat if you want to be considered to be the interim executive. Phil Lavoda, who would be my choice, is one of the 12 that they are discussing. And there's some other politicians in there that, quite frankly, I don't think they should. I think Phil's a very level-headed, middle-of-the-road guy who can get in there and make a difference. So that's what's going on now. My election will be next year, but we're going to officially kick it off on Tuesday, October 28th at Funhouse Pizza, their location in Blue Springs on 7 Highway. Want you to come. We're going to do like a live podcast event like we've done in Lee's Summit, but this one will be in Blue Springs. There's going to be a pizza special. You can get a large pizza and 2 drinks for $20.26. as we get ready for the campaign. And that will be a fundraiser for the campaign. We're going to need volunteers. We're going to need everybody to help pull this off to make a difference in our county. Other events coming up where I'll be speaking at the Republican Pachyderm Club at V's in Independence at noon on October the 21st. And the We the People at Lake Lotawana on November 3rd at 7 p.m. I know you went to a We the People event in Johnson County, Missouri?
I've been to both.
Oh, both of them. Okay.
Yeah, I spoke on behalf of the podcast at the Johnson County one, and then I went to the Jackson County one.
Was there a big crowd at the Jackson County one? They say it is.
Yeah. Big crowd. I mean, that was like 4 years ago,
Yeah.
but I'm sure, they're still at it. So
okay, well, looking forward to being with both groups again. The Pachyderm Club on October 21st, and We the People at Lake Lotawana on November.
What's
3rd.
Pachyderm Club?
It's a Republican elephant. There you
okay.
go. See,
there we go.
All right,
we're back.
We're spreading the message that I'm in this thing to represent Eastern Jackson County. because I don't feel like Eastern Jackson County has been represented. And you're like, hey, Dale, for years you were telling us we wanted to set up our own county. And in my heart of hearts, I feel like that ultimately is where we're going to end up. Because I just don't know that this can be overcome. But I want to get in there and try and actually represent the interests of Eastern Jackson County. Get the assessment thing under control, lower property taxes, maybe even find a way to eliminate property taxes, at least for retirees. I mean, if you've done your time, paid off your house, why in the world should you rent it from the county? Think about that. You never own your house if you got to pay property taxes on something that you've already paid for. The economic model for Kansas City is part of this too. I was thinking about this the other day because I have whined, bitched, and complained about the earnings tax in Kansas City for 30 plus years, right? I live in Blue Springs. I work in Kansas City, and because they have passed this law in the city of Kansas City, I don't get to vote on it. They get to reach in and take 1% of my paycheck away. And I've always felt like that was taxation without representation. Because, of course, the people who live in the taxing district are going to say, yep, you tax anybody who works here. It seems unconstitutional to me, and I wish somebody would challenge it. So above and beyond that, we know because Manny Abarca was on the podcast, and he said that it's reality that the economic center for Jackson County has moved further east because people are trying to get out of the city. Who would blame them? So in addition to the earnings tax, another way that Kansas City is funding it is they're using Jackson County property taxes. The budget for Jackson County is $500 million. Most of Jackson County is cities. You're right? Mm-hmm. Raytown, Kansas City, Blue Springs, Lee's Summit, Grain Valley, Oak Grove, Buckner. These are cities, and they have city budgets. So you've got to believe that in between all the cities, they need $500 million to operate. Where's the money going?
Yeah. So even Kansas City has a separate budget from
Of course they
the
do.
county.
The city budget.
Yeah.
Right? And they are the biggest city in Jackson County.
Right.
So part of me suspects, I'd love to see an audit on all of this, that a lot of that $500 million that's coming from the suburbs is going to fund city programs, right? There's also the rumor, and I don't have confirmation of this, but there's also the rumor that Frank White on the way out gave large bonus checks to his staff. 5-figure bonus checks to his staff. Where did that come from? So it's time to hold the county government accountable to those who are paying the bills, and I think that is us. So you can read about my campaign. You can donate to it. The incumbent, who I don't think represents Eastern Jackson County at all, she's part of what they call the Frank Four. She was part of the 4 votes that Frank White had at just about every meeting. She told me she has $50,000 in the bank. Now, I don't know if she's going to run or not. She may not. But she's got a pretty big war chest going, and I need to try and counter that. So that's why I'm doing all these speaking engagements, why we're doing fundraisers. You can go to my website, dalecarter.us, and you can donate there. We would appreciate it. Trust me that I'm going to get in there and fight the good fight for Eastern Jackson County. So need your help. dalecarter.us. That is the campaign website. Anything else we need up top? Oh, Tom BECKA is going to be my guest coming up a little later in the podcast. Tom did a talk show on KMBZ in Kansas City, was on KCMO for a while. Then he moved to Omaha. I'm not quite sure what he's up to these days. But Tom is a guy who I think leans left, I lean right. And we haven't used the Charlie Kirk seat for what we intended it for, and that's to bring in people who maybe don't see eye to eye with us. So hopefully we're going to have a little fiery debate a little bit later on with my friend Tom BECKA. So that is coming up. Anything on your mind? How's your business?
Oh, everything's good. Everything's good. Staying busy, chasing kids around. Life is good. I can't complain. Thank God.
Good deal. All right, so if you're going to keep your car for a long time, and studies show that people are keeping their cars longer, you got to keep them maintained. And one of the best places that I've ever taken my vehicles, just because of the care that they show, is Christian Brothers Automotive in Independence. They are individually owned, so this location is owned by Tim Porter. A great guy I've known for a long time. He's employed a couple of my kids along the way. I thank him for that. But most importantly, he takes care of my vehicles, makes sure that they're serviced. I get a report because I will admit to you, I know nothing about cars. I don't. I know where the gas goes. I know what color it is. I'm getting new tires today. I know I need to get tires once in a while. But if whatever car you've got, they can take care of it, right? And they'll give you a detailed report showing you. In fact, I'm getting new tires because their detailed report showed me that my tires needed to be changed. So that's important because you don't want to be out on the road, especially if it's your wife with your kids and they're on the road and the car breaks down. That is the worst thing that can happen. Tim Porter and Christian Brothers will keep those vehicles maintained. He's at 19600 East US 40 Highway, and you can reach them. Set up an appointment. Let them take a look at your car and see if you're as impressed with them as I am. 816-675-4587. All right, good guy.
Tremendous people.
A tremendous guy is Michael Schroer. He's out there selling houses in a market where they tell us there aren't a lot of houses moving. I just saw that he got a bunch of awards from RE/MAX Elite in Lee's Summit. He's always selling homes. So if it's time and you want to sell your house, buy your next, move from an apartment to your first house, upgrade your house, downsize your house, or maybe you got a piece of land you want to build on, Michael Schroer should be your first call. His office number is 816-373-8400. His cell phone, 816-520-9342. I'll bet that's the best way to get him because I don't think he spends a lot of time in the office. Reach out to Michael Schroer and get the process started if you're ready to change your living conditions there. Home.
He just posted something for RE/MAX State Line Elite. It was the top seller by units for September 2025 and number 3 by volume for September 25.
He's getting it done.
Yeah.
He is really getting it done. Swell guy, too. And I think he's going to be at our deal on October the 28th, so you can come meet him when you see him there. Lessons in civility. We are back to that. Have you seen this? Jay James running for Attorney General of Virginia. Have you seen his tweets?
No.
I was going to ask you to pull those up because that's not a clip per se.
Okay, yeah.
And
separate from the clip.
Yeah. He had fantasies about putting bullets into the former GOP Speaker of the Virginia House and his family. He put all this out on tweets. This is what passes for civility. And again, this is all about projection. You show me where Republicans are out there calling for Democrats to be shot, killed, maimed, whatever the case may be. I know that Trump's not the nicest guy in the world, and he says bad things about people, and he calls them fat and ugly and whatever else. But I don't hear him saying we need to shoot our opponents in the head and take out their kids and their wives and all that. But Jay James running for Attorney General of Virginia, unless he drops out, that's what's going on.
There's some leaked text messages. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
They say nice things about everyone, LOL. And then Jay says, if those guys die before me, I will go to their funerals to piss on their graves, send them out awash in something.
Yeah.
3 people, 2 bullets, Gilbert, Hitler, and Pol Pot. Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time.
Now,
who's Gilbert?
That's the former GOP Speaker of the House in Virginia.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, I mean, you show me
next to Hitler and Pol Pot,
a Republican who has done that, right? I don't think you can. I really don't. And by the way, I'm not getting anything on the monitor. I don't know if that's a big deal.
No, it's I'll put it up there. Sorry.
Okay. I didn't know if that meant something. Okay, so you would think that even Democrats would be saying, "Well, this guy's got to go. We can't have anybody running for an office putting out stuff like that." But he's a Democrat, so Tim Kaine, who is the senator from Virginia, I guess he's okay with it.
Do you think Jay Jones should drop out of the race in Virginia?
Jay has apologized. The statements that he made were indefensible, but I've known Jay Jones for 25 years. I think those statements were not in character, and he has apologized. I wish other people in public life would sincerely apologize for stuff. So no, I still am a supporter.
Okay.
Do you think Jay?
So he can say all that stuff, and as long as he says, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. I didn't mean it.
It's like Vito from The Sopranos. It's a joke. It's a joke.
So you put up a clip last week on the podcast page about Civility. It was from last week's show. Mm-hmm. So a childhood friend of mine, Steve, and I'm not going to give you a last name because I guess I get in trouble for using people's full names or whatever, but a lot of people out there are named Steve.
Yeah.
Well, this Steve and I went to grade school together, and he says Trump has taken all this civility stuff to a new level. And I was thinking, I don't think that's the case, because I think Democrats have been calling Republicans Hitler and Nazi for a long time. So I did a little research, and I looked in places like the New York Times, you know, places that lean to the left a little bit, and easily found stories in major papers attributed to prominent Democrats stating that Ronald Reagan, that goes back to 1980, Ronald Reagan was not only a Nazi, but would bring back the KKK. You know who said that? Coretta Scott King, the wife of Martin Luther King Jr., quoted in the New York Times that Ronald Reagan would bring back the KKK.
Yeah.
So that's civility, all right? George W. Bush was also called Hitler. You can find all kinds of references to Bush as being Hitler. So the Democrats have been doing this for a very long time. And I will say again, we hate their policies. We don't want an open border, right? We want to be able to determine what kind of car we want to drive. We want to be able to have a conversation with our doctor about our health without the federal government getting involved. We hate their policies. They hate us. Mm-hmm. I think that's the fundamental difference that's been going on here. And what's changed, and we talked about this last week. Back in the day, when Republicans were in the minority in the House for 50 years, and they were never going to get the majority, and people like Bob Michael was the minority leader, a congressman out of Illinois who was a Republican, they just wanted to play golf with these people. Go to the parties on K Street. You can call us whatever you want. At the end of the day, we're not going to fight back. And now we've got Donald Trump. And Donald Trump says, screw that. I almost used the F word there, but I'm trying to clean up my image because I don't want an opponent down the road to say, look at that, he said the F word. You know what? Fuck that. So, Trump says, no, we're not going to do that. When you punch, I'm going to counterpunch. And they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Because they're so used to Republicans laying down and just taking it. Yeah, we're going to call you Hitler. We're going to call you a Nazi, and you don't fight back.
Yeah, I think most of his attacks are counterattacks.
They are,
but not all. Not all. I mean, he comes at people for what he perceives as lack of loyalty a lot of times too. You know,
slights.
If somebody is part of his team and then says or does something mildly critical of him, you know, he'll make up a nickname for him and he'll start tweeting about them and everything like that. So it's not exactly like a 1-for-1. He is kind of unique in that situation, but certainly I think it has historically been the case, and to a large degree still is the case, maybe not with Trump, but with a lot of these other people, that they put on a face on TV or whatever and they yell at each other, and then behind closed doors they're shaking hands, kissing babies, and, you know, selling out America to whatever. So that's certainly still going on, but I think Trump maybe at least publicly is a rejection of that.
He definitely is that. Yeah. So let's play a little game here. You know, if a Democrat were in office today doing what Trump is doing, would we support it or would we tear them down on a personal level, right? Let's take Chicago, because we sent National Guard troops, Trump did, from Texas to Chicago. They're also dealing with Illinois Guard members there as well. He sent them there to help keep the peace. You know, and I was thinking about this. Richard Daley, who was the mayor of Chicago in the 60s, we put up his clip before, right? Remember the clip? He said that people who throw Molotov cocktails should be shot. Yeah. I don't think officers should have a choice. Shoot these people, right? And he was a Democrat. I think he would be proud of the fact that Donald Trump is seeing the issue that's going on in some of our cities with crime and destruction and keeping ICE agents from doing the job that Trump was elected to do, and they're actually carrying out actual federal law. So instead, the mayor and the governor there are fighting to protect criminals every step of the way. Now, you know they have sanctuary cities going on, right? Well, that wasn't good enough. Now they have ICE-free zones. So if you're an illegal and or a criminal, man, you got all kinds of protections. You should go to Chicago. It's a great place to be until Trump gets there with the National Guard.
Ice-free zones. What are you supposed to put in your soda?
I have no idea. I like ice. I like a lot of ice. So Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, she got in a great shot on Illinois Senator Dick Durbin. It's funny when, the truth happens.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
The word is,
Wow.
and I think it's
How
been
about that?
confirmed by the White House.
Very bold.
She's ballsy lady. There's no question about that. So again, as we're playing this game of what if a Democrat were doing what Trump is doing, where was the outrage when Obama was deporting millions of illegals? Did you have a problem with that?
I mean, we didn't really talk about it. Nobody talked about it back then.
Well, we didn't have a podcast then. Our podcast started the day Joe Biden was inaugurated. But I don't remember going on my show on KFKF or hearing a lot. Rush Limbaugh was around back then. I don't recall him, complaining when Barack Obama was deporting millions of illegals. Right. The one Democrat, and Clinton was strong on the border too. The one Democrat who opened the floodgate is Joe Biden, and he gets a pass.
Yeah, definitely. Here's we've talked about this before, but you can see returns versus removals. The graph is kind of the highest here under Obama for removals. It only goes up to 2018, so we don't have any data for Biden in this particular graph, but we know the numbers were obviously very low.
Yeah. So there you go. So did you see that Chicago police failed to respond to ICE agents who were boxed in by protesters? That's what happens when your mayor and your governor basically are working counter to the federal government and federal law. You should have a screenshot of the dispatch text. That's not a clip.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah. So that's what was circulating, that the chief of patrol, no units will respond to this.
Yeah, 4th of October, 2025, 12:34:44. Please, chief of patrol, no units will respond to this as related from.
Yeah. So, of course, the Chicago police now are in CYA mode, so you could play that clip.
Yeah, so this is responding just to kind of decipher this a little bit because this is like Chinese to me, but you see below that 12:28, approximately 30 armed Border Patrol agents, ICE, who are being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD. And then the follow-up to that at 12:34, chief of patrol, no units will respond. So they're turning down the support.
Well, they say that's not true. That's the police commissioner.
Federal agents, ICE, HSI, are officers. They are agents of law enforcement. If you box them in with vehicles, it is reasonable for them to believe that they are being ambushed and that this could end in a deadly situation. And it's reasonable for them to use force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, This is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force. And they can use deadly force in response to stop you. We need to be clear about these laws. We cannot become a society where we just decide to take everything in our own hands and start to commit crimes against law enforcement. It is a crime. You may not like what they're doing. I can understand that there's a lot of emotions out there, but that does not mean that you get to commit a crime, especially one that could lead to deadly force. We need to keep everyone safe.
Yeah, that's Larry Snelling. He's the Chicago police superintendent. He's saying the right things. Unfortunately, his mayor and the governor of Illinois are not. They're inflaming this situation. They should be working with President Trump to remove these illegals.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's sad that it has to even be part of the conversation to send in National Guard. I mean, it shouldn't be necessary, obviously. Yeah. But it's like sanctuary cities. It's like everything else. I mean, these localities are just not enforcing federal law. And you have the supremacy clause of the Constitution and everything that says that if it's a federal law, you have to enforce it. So, if you don't like it, then you have to change the law or move to a different country.
Take your city and make it its own nation state. Yeah. Right? Well, you got the Vatican within Rome. I mean, it's a very small nation state, so yeah, it's been done before.
I don't think that would work for Chicago very well.
Probably not. So we have Meathead to the rescue. Do you know who Meathead was on TV? That's way before your time.
No.
Okay. Rob Reiner, who is a director now.
Yeah.
He played Mike Stivic, who was Archie Bunker's son-in-law. And Archie referred to him as Meathead. So Meathead has come to the rescue because, Kurt, he knows about Trump's diabolical plan with these guard troops. There's a diabolical plan, and Meathead has gotten to the core of it.
Yep. If there's one thing that I know, it's that Hollywood types, actors, directors are experts on politics and foreign policy.
Everything.
And we should listen to them.
Absolutely.
Make no mistake, we have a year before this country becomes a full-on autocracy and democracy completely leaves us. And we're looking at the election in 2026, and Donald Trump knows. He knows that in a free and fair election, he will lose.
I gotta pause it right here for a second. This screenshot is hilarious. It's like him talking about politics and the midterm election, and at the bottom it says Rob Reiner, director, Spinal Tap 2.
Yeah, well, the story started with him talking about Spinal Tap, but he wandered into politics now. By the way,
that's just a great little screenshot.
Where you've paused it, does he think that Donald Trump was not elected democratically?
I don't know.
In 2024?
You'd have to ask him.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
He will lose the House. The House will flip and will become into Democratic hands. There'll be committee chairs that'll be able to hold hearings. And this is the last thing he wants. So this little, these ICE agents and the National Guard, and now he's called the military in from all over the world to talk to them about, don't be surprised when polling booths are surrounded by American military in the guise of making sure that the elections are fair and that nobody's tampering with anything.
Who's that guy?
And when you see violence breaking out, which there'll be protests, there'll be inciting violence, there'll be some violence, and they'll keep that. Then you'll see the commandeering of voting machines, ballot boxes, to make sure that that election is secure. Well, what that means is that he will then commandeer the election.
Damn, he's on to us. He's on to us. First of all, you know how many polling places there are in this country? There's a lot.
Yeah, like many thousands.
Tens
of thousands, probably.
So by his logic, they're going to put troops there, and they're going to know if you're going to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
They're going to have a scanner. It's like, you're good.
Well, what it is we're going to, and I say we because obviously we're informing the Trump administration.
Yes.
We're on the inside. So we're going to have National Guard troops at every single polling location, and we're going to be scanning everyone in line. If you're way overweight, if you have blue hair, if you have any kind of pins, rainbow flag, anything, we're taking you out of the line respectfully. We won't hurt you. We're taking you out of the line and we're pointing you in a different direction.
Damn. It was going to be such a good plan, too. I almost want to do like Dr. Evil on Austin Powers and put my pinky up here
Right.
like this. Damn, they're on to us. Yeah, that's what they think. And again, I wrote a note to myself because I just really believe this to my core. They tell any first-year attorney that when you get into a trial, if you're right on the facts, pound the facts, right? If you're right on the law, pound on the law. And if you're not right on either, pound on the desk.
Right.
And that's what Democrats are doing. They are pounding on the desk. And anytime you get too close to the truth or whatever, they'll be like, what about the Epstein files? He's Hitler. He's a Nazi. They're just, it's just noise.
Yeah. And the whole cable, I mean, it's just another piece of evidence of how cable TV is just dying on the vine.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of anyone who would be like, oh, did you see what Rob Reiner said about the midterm election? You know what I mean? On MSNBC. Wow.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Maybe Spinal Tap 2 will be a good movie. I don't know.
Maybe. Did you see the first one? I love the first one.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
He directed that.
Yeah.
He's directed a lot of great movies.
Yeah.
He has his lane where he's very talented.
For sure.
This is not one of them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Royal Roofing and Solar. They've been with us for a while here. And boy, we've got winter coming up here before you know it. Be a good idea to get somebody up on that roof and make sure that it's okay. My trusted roofer is Austin Watterson and his family-owned company, roofedbyroyal.com. Check them out, roofedbyroyal.com. That's the website. You can reach them at 816-540-7057. What you'll find with Austin and the folks at Royal is honesty. And that's what you're looking for when you're looking at a new roof. You want honesty. You don't want somebody to yank your chain and say, oh, it's okay. Insurance will pay for this. We'll wait for a hailstorm and then insurance will pay for it. The rules have changed, and Austin is working diligently with insurance companies to get you the best deal. And sometimes a new roof and the payments that you would make on that will be offset by what you'll save in insurance. Get him on your roof. Get that conversation started at 816-540-7057. Again, on the web at roofedbyroyal.com. By the way, he put up a Facebook post. They need people. Everybody needs people. Mm-hmm. And do you know that working for Austin, if you're good at this job of sales and working with people, you can make six figures. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal. So if you're looking for somebody and you got sales in your background, if you're looking for a job, reach out to Austin there at 816-540-7057. We know all about Funhouse Pizza. They're in two locations. They're on 50 Highway in Lee's Summit, 7 Highway in Blue Springs. A great place to gather, which is why we'll be kicking off my campaign there October 28th at the Funhouse location in Blue Springs on 7 Highway. Great place to dine, great place to grab a pizza and go, and a fun place to have a meeting with whatever you've got going on. Maybe you got a team meeting, maybe you're going to pass out trophies, birthday party, anniversary party, whatever party you got going on there. Funhouse Pizza is the place to have it. Government shutdown continues. Could be wrapped by the time you see this, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Real consequences here, though. Air traffic controllers ordered to work with no pay or calling in sick. I don't like to fly to begin with. That would be something else I'd worry about.
Yeah, my mom and my stepdad are flying out here today from Philly, so say a prayer for them.
Other federal workers are working with no pay. Historically, they've gotten back pay. Trump's been a little nebulous about that, but who knows? Military payroll is due on October 13th. You know who is getting paid? Congress.
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen this, the proposed 28th Amendment? That's something that's been going around for a while. That essentially, I mean, we've tried to get a 28th Amendment, or there have been attempts to get a 28th Amendment. We have 27 right now on the Constitution. The Equal Rights Amendment was going to be the 28th, and that failed. But right now, the 28th Amendment that they're talking about is essentially removing language in the Constitution that puts Congress above the laws that they pass. It says everything that you do applies to you. Mm-hmm. Gee, what a concept. Right?
Yeah.
They are above the law. They say no one is above the law. That's why they went after Trump with all this lawfare crap. They are above the law. And in a government shutdown, they're the ones being paid. Now, I will say that there are some Republicans and Democrats who've stepped up. I don't know the names. I saw a post on this who basically are saying if the federal workers aren't getting paid, we're not going to get paid. And it's on both sides. It's not just Republicans. So that's a good thing going on here.
Yeah, and the congresswoman that we played last week, she mentioned that they get back pay, right? So
historically, that's been the case.
Yeah.
But again, Trump's been a little nebulous on this. I don't know. And Trump has also said that he was going to use this as an excuse to eliminate even more federal jobs that he thinks he ought to eliminate. And if you get back to my core belief that there's about 5 things our federal government ought to be doing, there's a lot of people who ought to have their job eliminated and get into the private sector and go about it that way.
Yeah.
So, so if they're going to shut down the government, why should they be paid? That's the question that I would ask. Instead, they continue to do what we call the Potomac two-step. Trump removed funding in the big, beautiful bill. They are using the power of the filibuster to bring the government to a stop to get all or most of it put back. And that's how this happens. That's why we're almost $38 trillion in debt, and we're not slowing down. Because Democrats say, well, we want to spend this much money, and if you won't negotiate with us, we're going to shut down the government. And they'll be glad to take half a loaf. They don't want the whole, they want the whole loaf, but they'll settle for half. And what Trump is saying is, I don't want to give you any of it. I want a clean CR, which they have argued before we should have a clean CR. I mean, there are videos out there of Hakeem Jeffries. In fact, I saw one where somebody on, I think it was CNN, took him to task and said, you've said so many times that we ought to have a clean CR, and now you're changing your tune on that. You won't take a clean CR. And I know people are like, what the hell is that? It's gobbledygook and all that. All that means is a continuing resolution to keep the government funded at the levels that it's funded at right now for another 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Let's just negotiate on this. And it's like, nope, they've made this their line in the sand. And it's like, we want this money put back in. And if we don't get it put back in, we're going to shut the government down.
Yep. Kicking the can down the road. Yet again,
and have you noticed with Hakeem Jeffries that he's got very robotic hand gestures when he talks?
Yeah, he has a robotic.
I mean, I almost feel like he's exercising.
Maybe he is.
And he's got a very clipped, I think Trump calls him Obama Jr. or whatever. He does. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, he's got some nickname for him, I'm sure. So I'm not sure what it is, but
I don't know what's going to happen with this, whether we're going to get a quick resolution to the government shutdown, but it's happened so often now. And honestly, it only impacts 17% of the federal government. Did you know that? 17%. So it's not like it's a complete government shutdown. You can't go to the parks. You can't go to the Truman Library. There are parts of the government that are shut down. Parts of it are still operating. It's just, it's all a big sham. It's all a big charade and all that, just to get your attention and to get the talking heads on the news talking about it, which I guess they are. So at some point, they'll open the government back up and we'll continue going down this path. The path that we're going to go down now is the one for you and safety for your home and your family. And that's with my friends at Clay Como Shooters. They got a big promotion going on. I put it up on the podcast page. Did you see that? They've got some giveaway thing going on there. They're trying to do whatever they can to get the word out, because the word is safety for you and your family. Because while we'd like to think that if we are in danger and somebody is breaking into our house, threatening us, threatening our family, threatening our dogs, that we can call 911, we can get the police there before things go off the rails. We have too many stories where that's not true. You need to find a firearm to protect your home. You have a constitutional right to have that firearm to protect your home. And when you deal with Clay Como shooters, you're going to deal with people who are experienced trainers. They work with law enforcement. They have a law enforcement background. They can find the right firearm for you that fits you and what you want to try and get done, right? With affordable pricing, not a big box store, neighborhood business, looking out for the community. Protect yourself and your family, find the right firearm, and get trained on it. They're a full-service firearms dealer. They buy guns. It's all very legal, very buttoned up, with a crew there that will make sure that you leave with the confidence that you can defend your family. 816-452-4867, 816-452-4867. And when you reach out to our friends at Clay Como Shooters, please make sure that you tell them that we sent you. Next week on the podcast, we will have a special guest. Kirk Doris will be on. Kirk is one of our sponsors through Medicare Simplified KC. The Medicare enrollment period for 2026 is coming up October 15th through December 7th. There have been major changes because of the big, beautiful bill, and Kirk has run those traps. It's important because if you're 65 or older, you're already on Medicare. If you're approaching 65, you're going to be on Medicare. Which plan, which part, which supplemental plan do you need? Kirk is a great resource for all of these things. He's helped thousands of people who have been right where you are. So get on the phone and call him. You're not going to pay him. He gets paid by the insurance companies, but he's there with your best interests in mind with everything Medicare. MedicareSimplifiedKC.com. You can reach him at 816-701-6661. In the Raytown studio is Kurt's house. I just heard a baby crying in the background. Sometimes we have nat sound on these things, Tom. It's all right.
I imagine the baby finally saw what was going on in the news and started crying. You really can't blame the kid.
All right, here we go. So, special guest on the Dale Carter's America podcast. He's a former talk show host here in Kansas City and also Omaha. Tom BECKA. My gosh, it's been a long time.
Good to see you, Dale. How you been?
I've been excellent. Just doing what we do here in Kansas City, both with the radio show at KFKF. I don't know if you knew I was on the city council in Blue Springs for 3 terms.
I've been following you on social media. Yeah. I've been keeping up to date.
And, now I've put for whatever reason, maybe I've lost my mind here, jumping into the middle of the Jackson County legislature. So that'll be interesting. It's going to be fun.
I respect, with the 99.9% of the politicians that get involved. If you put your stuff out there, and I don't care if I agree with you or not, anybody that gets involved in the process and does it legitimately and respectfully, I respect immensely.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Of course, when you were in town, you were on KMBZ. Your bio also said you were on KCMO. I don't remember that.
I did for a while, about a year and a half or so. I did a talk show from Omaha, but I did a show on KCMO as well. And the fact that you don't remember that kind of shows how well the show did.
Well, and I'm a talk junkie too, right? I mean, I listened to you when you were on BZ. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to your show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
So, what are you doing now?
I'm semi-retired. I do it, like I said, do a podcast with Channel 6 here. It's called Becca's Talking. Deal with a lot of Omaha issues, but dealing with also news issues. So I'll talk to the local person that handles refugees or immigrants. I'll talk about the political situations here, but I also do fun stuff. I've had an MMA fighter on. I've had filmmakers on, a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Sounds good. So we have you on today because you and I have traded some things on Facebook. I've wandered into your area, and I always do this with great caution because, when people come into my area, like the podcast page that we have on Facebook, and if they go the other way, I'm right. I'm center right, I would say. And I would say you're center left. Is that fair?
You know what? I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the whole left-right paradigm.
Okay.
Because next to Stephen Miller, Mitt Romney is a liberal.
Well, that's
right?
true.
Okay, so this whole thing, I'm like, center, right, center. What is the issue? What is the issue? And I'll tell you how I feel about it.
That's a great point.
On some issues, I'm very conservative. On other issues, I'm rather liberal. Yeah.
And I saw on Facebook this week that you had posted something that a lot of liberal folks don't agree with, and so they came after you and they attacked you. It was I guess somebody got pardoned or whatever, and you made an issue out of that, and they came after you. That's my point, though. Social media is so toxic. You can't have an opinion without, setting a fuse somewhere, and whether it's on the left or the right, they come after you.
Well, the same is true with talk radio, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not really doing it anymore. Because talk radio became so toxic. I used to joke that I could say it's a lovely day and get a nasty email from a guy that makes umbrellas, right? I mean, that's what it's become. And I also remember, when I was doing talk radio, there were days I would wake up and I'd say, "Now, what am I going to be outraged about today?" Now, I never lied about my feelings, but I embellished them a lot for the show. Because you had to. Okay, so if a little thing annoyed me, I'd make it into the biggest thing in the world, and I'd find one crazy person in Florida, and then make it sound like all liberals were this way or all conservatives were that way because of that one crazy person in Florida. And it's always in Florida, isn't it? It's always.
It seems like. Well, you talk about talk radio, and someone I know that you remember that I remember from when I lived in the Connecticut area, the New York DMA, was Bob Grant. You remember Bob Grant?
Yeah.
Bob Grant was a guy, he was on WABC for a while. He said something nasty about somebody in the Clinton administration. ABC fired him. He ended up at WOR. And David Bernstein was his program director at WOR, and I know David. And he said that when Bob was on the air, if they got anybody with an accent, anybody who could set the fuse, they put him to the top of the call list so that Bob could get to them immediately. Because that's what talk radio is about. You are about, getting people pumped up, getting them riled up, because if not, it's like that's not good radio and you're not getting ratings, right?
But unfortunately, that's also what politics are about, because all the attention, and you can make the argument that this helped get Trump elected. All the attention made about transgender athletes. Okay, so there's what? 5 in the world, they make it sound as if somebody wants to cut off their dick so they can play women's sports, and they get everybody all riled up, and the population buys into it, But on the other hand, you can't get elected if you're going to talk about a sensible tax policy, right? You can't get elected. You can't get elected if it's always got to be about my side's right, your side's wrong, and that I think is the danger what we have right now. So take a look at what's happening with the shutdown. There's got to be some room there for middle ground, but it's not. It's like Trump has even said that he's going to the liberals, and for that matter, the media, are the enemy of the people, the enemy from within. And he's going after them. We're all Americans, and Americans with different opinions. That was the thing with me and talk radio. My attitude did change somewhat after Rush Limbaugh made his slut comment. When he went after that woman and called her a slut and all that, my attitude towards it sort of did change over the years. Because just because somebody has a different opinion doesn't make them the enemy. You and I had a different opinion about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, and that's what started this whole podcast.
Right, exactly.
We had a different opinion, but I don't think any less of you. Of course, I couldn't think any less of you. A rip shot.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I don't think any less of you because you saw things differently than me.
Yeah.
I've got a friend of mine, an old radio guy who lives in New Mexico now. And he and I, back in the day, I've known him for almost 50 years. Back in the day, he and I really used to tear it up. He has turned into a very strict, born-again Christian who believes I'm going to hell. Because my philosophy is that I believe God will grade on the curve, and it'll be like, BECKA versus Hitler. I got a shot, Well, but let me just make the point.
Yeah.
He and I disagree on a lot of things now. But you know what? We're still friends. We're still friends, and we have to keep on encouraging that, because the politicians can get power by making somebody the enemy. And last thought, then I'll let you talk again.
Well, it is my podcast.
I know. But hey, I'm the guest. Treat me with respect. But I'm a talk shows. I can't shut up. When I was doing the talk show on KCMO,
right,
You use the same number. You use the same number to text that you would use to call, and I would get maybe 10 or 15 texts for every call that I got, because that's how people communicate now, right?
Right.
And I got a text one time from a guy, and I read it, and it was like, BECKA, blah 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 blah, and I get a text 2 minutes later saying, "Dude, lighten up, that was a joke." And I read the same text again, only it was like, BECKA, blah 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 blah, and it was funny, but because of the mood I was in when I read it, I thought he wanted to fight. And I was ready to fight. And the same thing happens with social media. You know, you read it. People will say things on social media they never say to your face. You know, I got an email one time from a listener when I was doing talk radio, and this guy put together cuss words I didn't know you could put together. And he called me the worst name. He hated me, blah blah blah. Never gonna listen to my show again, so on and so forth. And I wrote him back. I said, "Well, I'm sorry you feel this way. I hope you listen to the other shows on the station, and I wish you well. Have a good day." And my mother said, "Yeah, but my mother loved me, so have a good day." You know. So I wrote that to him, and he got to send me an email back and saying, "Oh man, I didn't think anybody would even read this, let alone respond to it. I'm sorry. I love your show. You just got me angry that day." You know, and that's what the problem with social media and with artificial intelligence. It ain't going to get any better.
That's a scary thought moving forward. It really is. And I appreciate you coming on this podcast. You were in what we call the Charlie Kirk seat. And after the assassination, I set this up and I said, if people don't see the world the way that I do, I want to talk to them. I want to talk to people and have the conversation. And at the end of the day, we may still disagree on things, but we can do it and we can still be friends. I mean, to your point, I have had people who have called me every name in the book on our podcast page, and I've invited them to come on to do exactly what you're doing. You know how many of them have taken me up on the offer? None.
Yeah.
Because they won't do it. They just want to get behind the keyboard. They want to say whatever, and it works on both sides. I want to talk about Trump derangement syndrome a little bit.
Before we get to that, since you mentioned Charlie Kirk, can I just mention one thing about Charlie Kirk?
Yeah.
I had a situation here with a friend where he only saw, all his algorithms showed him were the Charlie Kirk comments about Michelle Obama, about women, about African Americans, about gay people. All he saw were the negative stuff. He had a friend that all they saw was Charlie Kirk's comments about loving God and family and all of this. They both had a real strong opinion about Charlie Kirk, but their information was completely different. And the reality is the answer is somewhere in between, somewhere in the middle.
Right.
You know, and that's sort of the thing that needs to be promoted more and needs to be addressed more, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. So my longtime radio partner, whose name we are not going to mention, we worked together for 20 years on KFKF. I'm sure you know who it is I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. She is far to the left and was blowing up my phone with Trump this, Epstein this, blah, 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 blah. And I finally had enough of it. And I asked her to stop because, you know, you're not going to change my vote. I can remove myself from the clown car, the clown show that Donald Trump is, and I can look specifically at policies that are being enacted, and those are the things that I voted for. And she just wouldn't let up. And so I read our exchange on the podcast. Okay. And I mean, I wasn't using a flamethrower on my end. It was like, I just want to get these people help because I'm afraid they wake up every morning with their hair on fire and they look for something that Donald Trump has said that's going to push them over the edge. Well, I did all that and I figured she was a public figure and all that. She blocked me on Facebook. She unfriended me. She called my boss at the radio station and threatened to sue me. And then has continued to send text messages to me, ripping me about Donald Trump. I mean, there are people out there like that. And it's like they wake up every day, Tom, and it's like, what did he say today? What can I be pissed off about today? And that's how they form their entire day. And I worry about people like that.
But I worry about the other side, too, because Trump delusional syndrome or derangement syndrome is a two-way street. I will tell people that a big Trump supporter, I will tell you 3 things about Donald Trump that I like. If you tell me 3 things about him you don't, and you know what? They can't say it. They can't do it.
I'll say it all day long.
You say you voted for him for the policy. So what policy did you vote for? Did you vote for him for the increased deficit? Did you vote? Did you vote for him to be going after Americans that are peacefully protesting? I mean, if
we could argue about those things.
You voted for?
No, the policy I voted for was shutting our border down. Right? Joe Biden let millions of illegals in. He actually advertised it in the Democrat debate. He said, we want everybody to come in. You may remember the pictures of them wearing Biden-Harris shirts as they came in. So that's what I voted for. Get the illegals out of this country, and I think that's what he's doing. And as far as fiscal policy goes, I'm as concerned about it as everybody is. I looked at the debt clock today. We're closing in rapidly on $38 trillion in debt. We got to slow that down and turn it around the other way. Some people say, hell, it doesn't matter. Just keep running it.
Well, that's it. And there's the problem is because it's the Republicans only seem to be concerned about the deficit and the debt when the Democrats are in charge.
Not true. I'm one. I'm very concerned about it today.
Then let's talk about the politicians then, because when Biden's in charge, you hear all sorts of and talk radio hosts. Biden's in charge or Democrats in charge, you hear all these people upset about the deficit. But now with this big, beautiful bill, it increases the deficit, and Republicans are silent about it, because they got to go and follow the leader. And in the meantime, all Americans are going to, go down that drain of the debt. And I worry about that.
I do too. Well, let's roll it all the way back for a second. I don't know how much longer you want to go on this thing, but I start at the beginning, Tom. What is the role of the federal government in our lives? We have seen it probably since FDR and the New Deal. We've seen it expand. And it continues to expand. And with Obama, it became about health care. And all of a sudden, we've got the Affordable Care Act. And my experience in dealing with government, local, state, federal, whatever the case may be, when government gets involved in something, it costs more and it's less efficient. And we've seen that with health care. The healthcare costs have quadrupled. They didn't even look at an idea like deregulation and making it more competitive across state lines to get healthcare. They didn't want to do that. No, the federal government wanted to take over. Couldn't get there all the way. Remember, Clinton tried it with his little card that he pulled out during his State of the Union address, and that's why he lost the House for the first time in 50 years. So Obama did kind of a blend of all of that. And what we've gotten now is something bulbous. It's too expensive. It's not efficient, and that's healthcare. And they're fighting over that right now. They're fighting about putting more money back into the big beautiful bill, which is what the hang up is right now, because Senate Democrats using the filibuster are not letting the government open on a clean CR because they want to put spending back in. So my question to you is, healthcare is the object now. What's next for Democrats and liberals who think that government really needs to be the biggest thing in our life? Is it going to be food? Because everybody deserves to eat. Should we be feeding everybody? Should we be housing them because housing is a right? Transportation? Should we be giving everybody a car? I mean, you might think that's ridiculous, but there was a time in this country when it would have been ridiculous for the federal government to take over healthcare, and that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Well, there's a time in this country. Okay, first of all, let me ask you this. During the first Trump administration, he said he would have a plan to replace Obamacare within 2 weeks. My memory fails me. What was Trump's medical plan? What are the Republicans proposing right now as they're talking about taking away Medicaid? What are the Republicans proposing right now to make Obamacare better?
Well, see, that's the trap that you draw us into. It's like you've done this clusterfuck thing, and then it's like, well, what's your plan? Well, my plan might be to go back to deregulating insurance companies and let them compete in the private sector and bring healthcare costs down that way.
And you know what? I'm going to be 69 years old next month. I'm 69 now. I'm going to be 70 next month. Okay, I am a bladder cancer survivor. Right now, I've got a pouch on my stomach. They took out my bladder, and I got a pouch on my stomach that collects all my urine. Thank God for Medicare. All right, because when they took out my bladder, and this is really what happened. I had lost the job that had my health insurance. I had lost that job on a Friday. They discovered the cancer on Monday.
Wow.
Okay. If I didn't have Medicare, if I wasn't qualified for Medicare, I would have been fucked. All right. I've got a brother that had a stroke. I had a brother that had a stroke. He couldn't afford health insurance. He's on Medicaid right now, living in a nursing home. Okay, what do we do about people like that?
There has to be a safety net. I mean, nobody's saying we shouldn't have a safety net. And you're conflating two things: Medicaid and Medicare. That's two separate things. Medicare is something that you paid for the entire time that you were working. Social Security is something you paid for the entire time that you were working. So that is something you are entitled to, which by definition makes it an entitlement.
But using your absolute, I would not have been paying into it because the government would have no access to it. The government would have no reason to give me Medicare.
Well, they did though. I mean, that comes out of the whole New Deal thing. I mean, Social Security, that ship has sailed. So that is where we are today. So are you saying that because we have Medicare and Social Security, that now we've got to do federal health insurance for the rest of the country?
What I'm saying is that we can't have this. We have this all or nothing sort of mentality in this country right now. Right? What I'm saying is that should we have? You know what? Yeah. Should, my opinion has changed on this a little bit. Should there be more insured people? Yes. Because right now, I mean, the Republicans' tone has changed on this a little bit on this when they got caught basically expanding lying a little bit here on this. Illegals aren't getting Medicaid. Illegals aren't getting Medicaid unless an illegal goes to a hospital, in an emergency room, or they get hurt in some way. They fall off the roof that they're working on to benefit us. They have to go to the emergency room. The emergency room ends up paying for that because he has no insurance. Okay, is there something we should be able to do to improve our immigration laws so that these people can work?
Absolutely. Yes.
Wait. Okay, but okay.
Let me agree with you.
Wait a second though. But when the Republicans and Democrats came up with a bipartisan bill in the Senate before the election, the House wouldn't even look at it. Johnson wouldn't even look at it because Trump wanted to use immigration as an election issue. He didn't want to find a sensible way to try to fix it so that these people, like 88% of Americans, believe that the dreamers should be able to live in this country peacefully, right? And what do the politicians do? Nothing, because they can use it as a wedge issue. They can use it as a wedge issue to get votes and to get people all wound up. I've got.
So you're okay with illegals living here? I mean, change the damn law. If you want illegals to live here, change the damn law and call them legal.
Agree, change the damn law. And the Democrats and Republicans tried to in the Senate, and the Republicans in the House wouldn't even take it up because of Trump.
Well, that's not true. I mean, the first issue was get the illegals out of the country that Joe Biden let into the country. Get them out, seal the border, and then you can have comprehensive immigration reform. You can't do it out of order. You got to do it in that order. And that's where Trump is right now. He's trying to get illegals out of the country.
Dale, let me ask you a question here. You're a smart man. You're a smart. For the sake of argument, let's say you're a smart man. No.
Okay, fine.
How do you think? You say these pictures of these illegals from across the border wearing Biden and Harris T-shirts.
Yeah. Like, you going to tell me that was AI?
No, I'm going to tell you. Where do you think they got those T-shirts?
Oh, you're saying, that's okay. That's your conspiracy that the Trump campaign gave them the shirts to wear?
I would not be surprised.
Yeah. Well, you got no evidence for that. So that's where we get. You don't have evidence. It's not fact-based. You're just making it up.
Wait. I will grant you I have no evidence. I agree with you. I will grant you I have no evidence. But can you tell me that's not plausible?
There's a lot of things I could tell you are possible. Are they probable? Can you prove it? You can't.
And you can't prove that Biden was the one letting these people across the border. Biden was the one telling them to all come across.
I have audio of that and video from a debate. He was the only Democrat on stage that said, we want everybody to come in.
Well,
do you not remember that?
But did he say, I want everybody to come in illegally? Did he say he wanted them to come in illegally, or was he talking about, how this country was founded with the immigrants? This country was
I agree. Legal immigrants. Don't conflate those two things. There's legal immigrants who, by the way, are pissed off as hell that we've let millions of illegal immigrants come into this country. Who the legal immigrants, like my family and those from Mexico who did it the legal way. All right. They stood in line and they went through the process. And what they're seeing is millions of people who just said, hey, I think I'm going to go to America.
When did your
and you would welcome them.
When did your ancestors come to America?
Well, it depends on which side of the family you're talking about.
Well, give me a ballpark figure here.
1790s for my mother's family, and my father's family, they were here before the country.
Okay, so basically there were no immigration laws back then. Basically, as I come, get here on the land and you can be here.
Well, now we have immigration laws, though.
Yeah, which are outdated.
Which, if they don't matter, change the damn law.
Well, agreed. And when the bipartisan tried to, Trump wouldn't do it.
Fix the border first. See, we're going to go round and round and round in a circle on this thing.
No, okay, I will make the same. I will tell you 3 things I like about Trump right now. If you tell me 3 things about him, you don't.
All right.
Go.
Oh, you want me to go first? Things I don't like about him? I wish he'd get off TV. I think he stirs the pot.
I'm talking policies.
Oh, policies. What policies don't I like? Kurt's over there going, I can give you 3 right now. Kurt thinks we shouldn't be involved in the Russia-Ukraine thing. He doesn't think we should be involved in the Israel-Gaza thing. So...
Okay, so you're thinking for yourself then. Okay, well, just like most Trump supporters, you're not thinking for yourself. Okay.
What 3 things do you like about him?
I will give him credit for what he's done with the Middle East, proposal right now. He's in Middle East peace talks. I will give him props for that. I'll give him props for securing the border. Whether or not my conspiracy theory is true or not, you know what? You're right. We do have to have secure borders. I will give him props for that.
Barack Obama said that too, by the way. Barack Obama said that. Bill Clinton said that.
What about a good idea is a good idea?
A good idea is a good idea. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. And then the third thing is he's getting rid of paper straws. So I support that. I support that. So those are 3 policies. Okay. But you can't tell me 3 things about him you don't like. Do you like his policy on vaccines? Do you like what he's doing?
I can tell you a lot of things that I don't like about him, but it's not policy related because he's doing what I voted for.
You voted for RFK Jr. to basically dismantle the National Institutes of Health.
I think after what we went through with COVID, I think it needed an enema. And I don't need this is where the role of government comes into play here. I don't need the federal government to tell me what vaccines to take. I have a doctor, a highly educated doctor who I talk to about what I need in my life. I didn't need Fauci. I don't need RFK Jr. I don't need the federal government for that. I think there are about 5 things our federal government ought to be doing, and they do about 50,000 things.
Okay, so in other words, so to get rid of the entire National Institutes of Health altogether.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then where does your educated doctor get his education?
He went to college to get an education. That's where doctors get their education.
Right. Okay, and where do these hospitals get their research money to be able to do? Or these universities get their research money to do the to come up with the new vaccines and the new pills and the new solutions?
Have you heard of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital? They get no money from the government. They raise all their money through the ALSAC Foundation, and I'm a big part of that. So there are private ways to do this. You're trying to inject the federal government in where it does not belong.
Okay, so
I get that you want the federal government to do everything. You want to wipe your ass, feed you porridge, whatever it takes.
These are the absolutes that you're coming up with. This is the absolutes that you're coming up with. Okay, I don't want the federal government to be doing everything, but I do think there are times when, indeed, you have to. I mean, like I said, I'll use my brother as an example. Okay, the guy is in a nursing home on Medicaid because he had a stroke.
I feel bad for him. We need to have a safety net for people. I agree there needs to be a safety net. But there doesn't need to be a select comfort mattress for everybody, right? A safety net is a safety net.
Can I ask you this? Where do you get your news information from? What? Give me your top 3 news sources.
My top 3 news sources. Well, that's the thing, too, because whenever I see something that looks a little squirrely, I try and triangulate it and get it confirmed, and don't just run with an opinion that may or may not be correct. But I look at several sources, depending on the story. I don't know that I have real go-tos necessarily. But if I see a story that doesn't look quite right, I'll Google the story. And if I see, NPR, BBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, if they're all reporting the same thing, then I agree with it. If it's just a one-off and it's MSNBC over here, then I question it.
Okay. Well, it's good that you're getting it from multiple sources.
Everybody should. I've told people, don't just take my word for it. Look it up. Read a book. Do a little bit of research. It's out there. I mean, the internet, with our phone now, we can access anything we want.
But the algorithms only feed you the stuff that you actually go for. So we don't challenge ourselves enough. Would you agree to that?
I don't agree, because I know how to challenge myself. And if people don't, if they're too ignorant to figure it out, that's on them. That seems like a good place to leave it, with a sigh on your part. How about that?
Well, and here's the thing, and this is the frustrating thing, because you still couldn't name 3 policies of
because
Trump.
I voted for the man for the policies that he ran on. I separated the clown car from it.
I happen to know your ex-wife. Here's a woman that you knew very, very well, but yet you didn't agree with her on everything.
No.
But yet you agree with Trump on everything?
You're talking in absolutes right now.
I'm asking you a question. Do you agree with Trump on everything? I told you the 3 things I disagree with, or the 3 things that I do agree with him with.
Well, I don't know. I mean, nothing comes to mind right now. Kind of like Kamala Harris. What would you do differently than Biden?
By the way, you are like every other. You're like every other diehard MAGA person that I've talked to.
I'm not a diehard MAGA person. I just don't. The federal government does not have that big a role in my life, Tom. I really could care less. I could care less that the government's shut down right now. Again, I think there's about 5 things our federal government ought to be doing, and everything else is a distraction.
The government makes sure that your radio station is not interfered with other radio stations. Right? Without an FCC, you'd be out of a job. Without an FCC, you'd be out of a job. So there you go with your absolutes, and now we'll leave it at that.
All right.
Dale, I wish you well, my friend. I wish you well.
And we'll catch up on Facebook. Look, Tom BECKA, I appreciate you being on here, and this was a very lively discussion that probably Kurt's over there looking at me like it maybe ran twice as long as he wanted it to. Anything you want to say, Kurt?
You guys should start your own podcast.
Tom, I wish you well, especially with your health. I hope you're well, my friend.
As far as I know, everything is going well. Thanks to the doctors and the research and the National Institutes of Health.
Oh, good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Have a great day.
You too, my friend.
Well, that was fun and lively, wasn't it?
That was very, very interesting.
When Tom was on the air in Kansas City, I listened to him a lot because I'm a talk radio junkie. He would just get going so fast, and it would just like, and it was like, all right, Tom, slow down, trying to get your point, trying to figure out what you're saying. All right, fine. And I'll talk very slowly and tell you about Bob Watson, because he's ready to be your insurance agent. He's been mine for over 30 years. He's gotten me through some sticky situations. Cars totaled, teenagers wrecking about everything they have, home deals with my roof. At one point, I had to get a new roof, and Bob paid for a new roof because I had one of those shake shingle roofs, and those things were garbage. And when a hailstorm came through, I got a new roof that way. Rules have changed since then, and you really need to get an insurance agent who's on your side, who understands everything. And Bob works with Austin Watterson at Royal Roofing and Solar, so they work very well together to make sure your home is protected. Bob Watson, a great insurance agent for State Farm, the name you know. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Bundle your home and car insurance and you'll save even more. 816-229-7878. Auto, home, life, commercial insurance. He's licensed in both Missouri and Kansas. Get Bob Watson on the phone and he'll help take care of all of your insurance needs. Get a rate quote from Bob and you'll find out what I know, that he's going to be there in the sticky situations in your life moving forward. So we'll leave you with some uplifting thoughts from our friends in the Democrat Party. I think we'll get a little Hakeem Jeffries calisthenics with this clip, because if you watch his hands, they're always moving in a robotic way.
People will die if the GOP tax scam ever becomes law.
And we all know one thing. Donald Trump is just lying about the bill. Lying about the bill. Well, here's the "we are all going to die" act.
People will die.
People will die. People will die. Well, here's the thing for Hakeem and for Chuck. We're all going to die at some point. So I thought we could put it a different way.
I guess it's in God's hands now.
I'm Father O'Flanagan. I'm a man of God. And you must trust me when I say it's very likely that we're all going to die.
And of course, from the movie Airplane. And I think that sums it up best. Long episode today. Hope it's worth it. Hope to see you on October 28th. And again, next week we'll have Kirk Doris in here with us talking about something that's very important to a lot of people in this country, and that's the changes with Medicare. Until next week, this is Dale Carter's America.
The views expressed on Dale Carter's America are Dale's and Kurt Wheeler's. They do not necessarily reflect the views of KFKF or Steel City Media. Comments can be sent to dalecartersamerica@gmail.com. Check back for weekly episodes. Subscribe, spread the word, and give us a 5-star review. Thanks for being a part of Dale Carter's America.